Hey guys, in our previous video we talked about what is immersion and what is percolation, but in today's video we'll dive deeper into what is percolation. In general, percolation is actually a drip down method of brewing. In today's video, we're going to talk specifically on the V60. Now, to get a bit of a context to what is a V60 is basically the vector, the angle, which is at 60 degrees of where and how the coffee drips from the top down. So in this example, as you're brewing your coffee from the top down, the angle of this vessel is actually at 60 degrees. Hence why it's called a V60. You'll still see a bit of water gathered at the top simply because the coffee is at the bottom. It's being filtered through, but don't worry, it's still going to flow through at the bottom. There's just one way, just the top, the big hole, and then the bottom hole is where the coffee filters through. That's where you get most of the flavors. Typically, you get a few materials used to prepare your V60. This is the glass material, okay? Sometimes you'll find plastic materials as well. Another one will be a ceramic. All these are all different types of V60s in general. How you can differentiate it is through the grooves. So the grooves of these vectors help to channel the water and the filtration rate of the V60. Different grooves create different effects to your coffee. Some will have more body, some would have a more even body like the glass one, like the standard one. Ceramic ones as well. Again, as mentioned, different grooves create different bodies, different textures as you're drinking the coffee. When it comes to the amount of coffee and amount of water, there are many recipes to that. There are many ways to brew it as well, whether it be a 1, 2 or 3 pour. But let's just focus on the ratios of it. Ratios for brewing coffee differs as well. Some people actually go for a 15 gram coffee to a 250 gram water ratio, water recipe. There's no right, there's no wrong. It is purely subjective to the individual brewing, but what we would recommend would be a 1 to 15 ratio if you want it to be slightly stronger in terms of flavor, in terms of body. But if you want it to be more flavorful, a bit more clarity, to let it open a bit more, a 1 to 16 ratio would do best. Yes, it's just a 15 and 16 ratio, like the difference is just one ratio, but trust me, the flavors will be different. You will realize that for a 15 ratio, the flavors are stronger, more punchy, but in terms of a 16 ratio, you get maybe more floral, more citrusy nuances. So I encourage you to try because it is very different. Play with your brewing styles to what you like, but try to maintain that ratio so that you are not adjusting too many factors and that you can actually control the variables a bit better. So by limiting yourselves to that ratio, you're indirectly giving yourself the ability to still play with the other factors. In terms of temperature though, if you're going to brew it at 93 degrees, as what most people recommend in the industry, 93 degrees is the ideal temperature because it will not scald your coffee, it will not burn your coffee as you're pouring into the vessel. You still get the optimum flavors for it. However, there is a bit of a rule of thumb. If you want to get a more citrusy coffee, we will encourage you to brew it at a lighter temperature. If you want it to be a bit stronger, more robust, you can brew it at a higher temperature. A very easy understanding would be the higher the temperature, the more volatile the coffee would be, because the higher the temperature, the more the more agitation, because it's higher, it's hotter, it's a bit more rough, so it will force more agitation from the coffee and more carbon dioxide will be released. That's why when you're blooming your coffee at the initial stage, be a bit more careful. Observe the coffee, observe the blooming stage, and then continue to brew. Because as your coffees get more and more fresh, it will require a little bit more time to bloom. Maybe the first 30 seconds, first 35, first 40. Again, it's very subjective. So understand your ratios and then observe the coffee, use your senses. You can see your coffee degassing and you can smell the aromas of the coffee as well. So use your senses, not the 5 senses, but use your senses in general to understand your coffee and then to brew your coffee as a whole. So let us know what is your favorite brew ratios, what is your favorite brew recipes, and then perhaps you can share and explore as a community. Thank you for joining us today on Ghostbird Shares, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.